scare the living shit out of the Indiana Fever. So Indiana Fever, and it's been my belief that they will freaking fire everyone. And I do believe this. So if you're a Fever fan and you're hoping they'll keep Caitlin Clark, it's my belief that when push comes to shove, there's no way they can let her get away. They will fire everybody and start over. That's my belief. I cannot imagine the level of fumbling the bag that would have to be done.
The WNBA had spent 28 summers searching for its breakout moment, but nothing prepared the league for the night Caitlin Clark slipped on an Indiana Fever jersey. Suddenly, a franchise that once rattled around half-empty arenas was turning people away at the doors. Through Clark's first 11 home dates, the Fever packed 185,878 fans, 17,000 plus per game, putting them on pace for the highest average attendance in league history. Clark's pull wasn't limited to Indiana. Secondary market brokers reported a $440 average resale price for her preseason homecoming in Iowa City, the steepest ticket tag ever recorded for a WNBA event or any Clark game, college or pro. Road crowds ballooned too, spawning what beat writers nicknamed the Clark Caravan. Out-of-state license plates, homemade number 22 signs, and queues that snaked around buildings hours before tip-off.
Example, and there's enough votes here. This is a good test to see how bad this would be. Swag put this out. It's starting to make the rounds. I voted. Okay, Fever fans, answer this. If Caitlin leaves Fever, would you still support the Fever? We got 1,145 votes here. Nope, my bags are packed is far and away leading.
Merchandise figures told an even louder story. Within 3 hours of draft night, Clark's number 22 sold out nationwide. By midseason, her jersey ranked second best-selling across all American basketball, men's and women's, only trailing LeBron James. The stampede caught retailers flat-footed. Fanatics quietly tripled its production run 2 weeks later and still couldn't meet demand. Corporate America sprinted to keep pace. Nike threw down an 8-year, $28 million signature shoe deal, the richest endorsement in women's hoops history, and one that instantly dwarfed Clark's rookie salary of about $78,000. Gatorade, Coke, and State Farm followed, each eager to plaster her winkin' three-point shimmy across every ad slot they could buy. Forget rookie learning curves. Off the court, she was already an economy.
Listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise. There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years they didn't make a lot of money or lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money, and I got about 6 months left in the investment, and in the last 6 months they started making cash, I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner. But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum.
Even collectors joined the frenzy. A limited edition 2024 rookie card, autograph, jersey swatch, serial numbered, hammered for $660,000, obliterating every previous WNBA memorabilia record and outselling iconic NBA rookies from Kobe to Giannis. The auction house CEO summed it up in 5 words: she's Tiger Woods on hardwood. Television metrics completed the picture. Clark's debut against Connecticut averaged 2.1 million viewers on ESPN2 and ESPN+, the network's most-watched WNBA broadcast ever. 2 weeks later, a Liberty clash drew ABC's largest women's basketball audience on record, proving the first spike wasn't a fluke. Executives who used to hide WNBA games on streaming overflow channels were now shuffling primetime schedules to squeeze Clark into living rooms. But the same gravity that supercharged the Fever also tugged at fault lines inside the sport. Rival coaches grumbled about one-player hype. Veteran stars wondered aloud why they'd never seen this level of marketing. And deep inside USA basketball's selection meetings, whispers began to circulate. Was the rookie phenom too big? Too fast? That question would explode a month later, when the Olympic roster dropped without her name and set off the loudest controversy women's hoops had heard in a decade. June 7th, 2024 was supposed to be another victory lap.
Age 23. I'm going to pass on that question, actually. WNBA star Caitlin Clark is transforming women's sports. She fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records. And if you watch Clark play, well, it's not hard to figure out why. She makes deep three-pointers look easy. And like all stars, wants the ball when the game is on the line.
Clark had just torched Washington for 7 threes and 30 points when USA Basketball tweeted its final Paris roster and left the most talked about player on earth off the list. Officials mumbled about experience, but fans heard politics loud and clear. Within an hour, the phrase "No Clark, no gold" trended worldwide, and selection committee chair Jen Rosati was on morning shows defending the snub. The backlash cracked open an old fault line: the establishment versus the upstart. By sidelining Clark, Team USA signaled that hype and record TV numbers still bowed to hierarchy. Sponsors quietly panicked. Nike had just printed Olympic-themed prototypes of her yet-to-drop signature shoe, and even neutral fans wondered how a roster built for ratings could ignore the sport's main attraction.
180, the WNBA before started in 1997, the year after the Atlanta Olympics, and was launched into a time when women's sports was still not taken seriously by a lot of, people. And some of those same guys now, if we want to talk about before and after, some of those same guys, or guys like them, are the ones buying the 22 jerseys, wearing them to games major, but also to the grocery store and to the gas station. It is now cool to be a WNBA fan, and it is cool to love Caitlin Clark and the spotlight that is finally shining on these players.
Opponents took a different lesson. If the gatekeepers could ice Clark, so could they on court. 1 week later, Chicago guard Chindy Carter shoulder-checked her to the hardwood, sending the ball skidding into courtside seats. Refs swallowed whistles until replay forced an upgraded flagrant one. The clip looped 5 million times overnight. Hashtags #ProtectCaitlin and #LetHerHoop spiking across X and TikTok. Clark kept answering with numbers. In Dallas, she dished 19 assists, a WNBA single-game record, by a rookie, no less, while still dropping 22 points. Courtney Vandersloot's 4-year-old mark was history, and the box score looked like a video game slider gone wrong. Yet every post-game scrum included versions of the same question. Are you worried the hits will shorten your career? The league's cash cow was starting to look like a target. Even Indiana's bench felt colder. After a 36-point drubbing in New York, Coach Christy Sides told reporters Clark needs to be more unselfish, then 7 days later scolded her for taking only one shot in the final 7 minutes of another loss. Fans spotted the mixed messages, clipped the quotes, and stitched them into viral montages titled "Parked in the Corner."
And I think it's like something where if you are a star in the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark, she's probably one of the few people that anybody you can mention to somebody that knows sports will know Caitlin Clark. Yeah. She's getting a ton of deals. Coke, Gatorade, you name Nike deals. Now, I know a lot of the other players, like if you're the 12th person on the team, you're probably not making that much money, but I just feel like coming out like this, what are they going to bargain with? What is their thing they're coming with that's going to change their salary? And that's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't understand because they're already rev sharing. The NBA already gives them money, compensates for the loss they make every year because they lose 50.
The narrative shifted from rookie growing pains to coach versus comment. Meanwhile, worry warped into ultimatum. A fan poll tied to a viral Gatorade ad backlash asked, if Caitlin leaves the Fever, will you stick around? Nearly 77% clicked no, bags packed. The number ricocheted through talk shows. Indiana's new fan base wasn't married to a logo, it was married to Clark. The stakes were suddenly existential. If bruises, snubs, and sideline ice could push Clark toward the exit, the Fever wouldn't just lose a player, they'd lose the crowd, the sponsors, and maybe the broadcast windows she'd pried open. Front office whispers turned to full-throated rumors of shake UPS and blockbuster trades. Indiana's front office used to celebrate full houses with champagne. Now they popped antacids. Internal surveys, the kind never meant for daylight, reported a brutal truth. 2/3 of the Fevers knew ticket buyers swore they'd vanish if Caitlin Clark ever suited up elsewhere. That stat leaked onto Reddit, mutated into TikTok luggage memes stamped destination, wherever 22 goes, and even ESPN's Around the Horn spent an entire segment debating whether Indy should just hand her the keys to the franchise.
Female bird. She had Van Slugenhagen on her. She was like, I'm offended that y'all have white defensive players guarding me, and she put her in the torture chamber. You should have known from her little face that she didn't want this matchup from the beginning. Caitlin reminds me of what Dame does. If anybody ever noticed, her first shot always a three. First quarter, second quarter, third. She sets the distance on her first shot, so you have to guard her there. Now she can do whatever she wants to do. She's playing the chess game. That's what Dame does. He starts his game off. He's going to shoot a deep-ass three to force.
WNBA before Caitlin Clark and the WNBA after Caitlin Clark. Describe these two worlds.
Oh, it entirely different.
Coach Christy Sides felt the spotlight shift from brilliant rookie whisperer to potential fall guy almost overnight. Freeze-frame compilations flooded social media, Clark motioning for a high screen while Sides barked corner. Clark clapping for the rock as a teammate bricked a third straight contested mid-ranger. Clark shaking her head after being subbed with 4 minutes left in a one-possession game. The clip everyone reposted showed her mouthing, "Let me cook," before jogging back on defense. The internet needed no lip reader. Behind closed doors, the mood curdled. Veteran starters allegedly griped that Clark's endorsement avalanche bred resentment in the locker room. Shoe giant logo shoots, private jet appearances, and paychecks that dwarfed WNBA max salary by a factor of 40. One practice reportedly ended with a terse players-only huddle where Clark was told, "You're special, but we're in this too." Within a week, insiders whispered she'd begun scheduling extra early morning workouts alone, just to avoid tension. The boardroom wasn't calmer. Ownership had 2 ugly spreadsheets on the table. Projected 2026 revenue if Clark resigns, a rainbow of sold-out home dates, spikes in local TV ad buys, and a naming rights renegotiation worth triple the current deal. Projected 2026 revenue without Clark.
She's changed the dynamic and history forever for women.
I see a lot of young girls here today, and I see how inspired they are, and she's even gotten me back into basketball.
I think she has brought attention. She did it for us. We have never watched, and we have become big fans.
I don't think her contributions have been extreme as what people think they are. I think the league in itself has been getting better, and that's really what we should be focusing on.
I think she's brought a lot of attention to the WNBA, and it's needed.
I think it's great. I actually grew up watching the WNBA, so it's really exciting to see a resurgence.
She meant everything.
A cliff dive back to pre-2024 attendance, plus the sunk cost sting of contracts handed out to role players nobody would pay to watch. The delta? Roughly $42 million over 3 seasons, enough to give every remaining player a raise and still pad profit margins. That math made one conclusion impossible to ignore. If keeping Clark meant clearing house, then house cleaning was on the menu. Cue the rumor mill. Yahoo reported Indiana gauged whether a contender would swallow Sides' remaining contract in exchange for draft compensation, effectively trading the coach to save face with the star. ESPN's Brian Windhorst claimed 2 assistant GMs flew to Vegas to sound out celebrated free agent coach Becky Hammon about future opportunities. Hammon's camp, delighting in leverage, let the story hang for a news cycle before issuing a no comment. As management scrambled, Clark kept rewriting the stat book. She became the fastest player, rookie or veteran, to 750 points and 200 assists, did it in fewer games than Sue Bird needed just to hit half that assist mark, and logged a triple-double with 0 turnovers, something no WNBA guard had managed in 9 years. Each feat should have been a feel-good montage.
I never watched it before.
We're letting her cook.
Be dinner.
I'm buying Powerade stock.
Is it a play on like women shouldn't? No, they didn't do it on purpose. There's no way. How you came up with this and not in the back of your minds like, oh, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's women. She just needs to cook. Didn't think about that in the PR room. I'm a big advocate of.
Instead, every highlight spurred fresh debate. How long will she put up with chaos? Talk radio callers floated doomsday hypotheticals. If Indiana dragged its feet, could Clark force her way to a glamour market? Under the new CBA, superstars can't walk until year 4, but a trade demand from the league's biggest draw would melt resistance faster than a summer blacktop. Remember how LA Sparks legend Candace Parker shook loose for Chicago? Multiply that shock by 10 and tack on a sponsor's stampede ready to follow. Then came the meeting. According to The Athletic, Clark's agent sat with Fever ownership hours before the national broadcast against Seattle. No ultimatums, just a presentation. Build now. Invest in proven shooters, rethink systems, reevaluate coaching, and embrace Clark as both engine and brand, or risk the greatest balloon of goodwill in women's sports history popping on live television. The owners nodded, thanked them for their candor, and supposedly left the sweet pail. Seattle pummeled Indiana by 22 that night. Clark tallied 29 points and 11 assists, but the arena's body language felt grim. Teammates barking at one another, sides glaring at the score table.
Caitlin Clark is a media driver. She is a ratings driver. Think about the NBA post Magic and Larry, the NBA post Michael Jordan, tennis post Serena Williams, golf post Tiger Woods, right? There are certain athletes that drive the sport more than others. And that's not to take away from anyone else drafted tonight. That's not to take away from the other incredible superstars in the WNBA right now.
Clark alone on the bench, towel draped over her head, eyes fixed on nothing. Fans read the vibe instantly. A hashtag Free Caitlin hashtag surfaced before the final buzzer and trended by sunrise. Nike's social team, poised to drop a playful "Cooking with Caitlin" at the next day, quietly shelved the spot. No sense trolling the league's hottest fandom when its heroine looked trapped. Meanwhile, rival execs sensed blood. One anonymous GM told Sports Illustrated, if Indiana keeps bungling this, 5 teams will line up tomorrow with blank checks and future pick mountains. Translation, the Fever had maybe months, not years, to convince Clark they could win. The stakes crystallized on the trade deadline eve. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported Indiana was aggressively shopping future first-rounders and a starter for a proven perimeter threat, exactly the kind of floor spacer who could weaponize Clark's gravity. The package leaked, social feeds exploded, and insiders speculated management was making its first desperate swing to appease their star. Whether the deal lands or fizzles, the die is cast. Clark's patience, once assumed infinite because of her Midwestern humility, suddenly feels finite. She's tasted global stardom, seen what packed arenas look like, and learned the brutal math of revenue versus salary. One more season of mixed messages and empty corners, and Indiana risks becoming a cautionary tale whispered in every front office meeting. Don't ever fumble a once-in-a-generation draw. Las Vegas was built for neon drama, but the 2025 WNBA All-Star Weekend outshined every casino sign on the strip. Players spilled onto the orange carpet wearing jet black t-shirts that screamed, "Pay US what you owe US." The slogan wasn't empty hype. Under the current CBA, WNBA athletes collect only about 9% of basketball-related income, a fraction of the NBA's 50-50 split, and that number hadn't budged since 2020. Why the sudden urgency? 1 week earlier, the league quietly finalized an 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal with Disney, Amazon Prime Video, and NBC Universal, roughly $200 million a year, nearly quadruple the previous contract. Executives toasted monumental growth, but the players doing the celebrating on TNT's set still banked rookie salaries under $80,000. Clark, now the face of every highlight reel, didn't need a megaphone. She simply tugged her protest tee during the live broadcast and let the cameras zoom. If anyone wondered whether the fans cared, the vote totals answered. Clark polled 1.29 million All-Star votes, a record that eclipsed the top 30 vote-getters from 2023 combined.
And the night that I broke the news, someone read me the list that Caitlin Clark was not on the Olympic team, which was June 7th. She had just had 30 points and 7 threes against Washington in an amazing game. And bottom line on this is they did not want her on the team. There was either a sense that she needs to wait her turn. They wanted to give Diana Taurasi the going away present. Name another time when you would ever give an athlete a going away present with an Olympic berth. Outrageous. So Caitlin said, hey, it's okay. And in interviews, she said, it's all right, I'll make it the next time. Well, in the book, I have a wonderful anecdote from then.
Numbers don't debate. She was the people's captain, and Nafisa Collier, second in votes, made sure the league's golden draw got the mic first. Clark seized it with a grin and tossed out her headline move, a coach trade. In real time, she swapped Team USA legend Cheryl Reeve to Collier and welcomed Liberty mastermind Sandy Brondeau to her sideline. The league's social feed flashed trade alert, and a million phones vibrated. Analysts called it playful, but insiders heard something sharper. Last summer, Reeve downplayed Clark's Olympic omission. This summer, Clark returned the favor on national TV. The game itself felt like a coronation. Clark lob-passed no-look lasers to Angel Reese, drilled logo threes, and choreographed a flash mob three-point goggles celebration that even drew a smirk from stoic veteran Alyssa Thomas. Ratings soared again. ABC's biggest July Saturday since the Tokyo Olympics, and every sideline reporter eventually asked the same pointed question. Would Indiana match her ambition? Clark's post-game presser was velvet-wrapped velvet glove. She praised teammates, credited Vegas fans, then dropped a line that froze pencils mid-scribble. Winning follows culture, and culture starts at the very top. Nobody needed subtitles, ownership, coaching staff. Even league negotiators had been summoned. Back in Indianapolis, Fever Brass digested All-Star Weekend like a 5-alarm chili. The front office's deadline swing for a veteran shooter had fizzled when a rival demanded an unprotected 2027 first-rounder. Negotiations to extend Coach Christie's sides quietly stalled. Meanwhile, Clark's agent recirculated the revenue cliff slides. With her on the roster, projections showed $42 million more gate and sponsor income over the next 3 seasons than without her. The math was now gospel in local business journals. League headquarters felt the tremor. 2. The current CBA allows players to opt out in 2027, but whispers of an earlier showdown are growing louder. A star-driven strike used to sound impossible. Now it sounds like a tweet thread away. Corporate partners that bought into the Clark effect want stability, not a labor freeze that would shelve their new $2.2 billion investment. So the clock ticks louder. For Indiana, surround Clark with floor-spacing talent, clarify the coaching future, and above all, listen. Fumble this, and the Comet could request a new orbit. For the league, share the pie before players flip the table. A 9% slice looks indefensible beside billion-dollar headlines. For fans,
I was mesmerized by her. And I will tell you this. This was the greatest performance I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, girl or boy. Greatest performance.
On this biggest stage.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because rarely does a game like this live up to its hype.
Yeah.
You know, rarely do you have the two superstars play like superstars, because you got to understand the scout report is geared to stop you. You know, all the hype coming into this is going to be people who've never watched a girls' basketball game watched. A lot of people watch for the first.
That'd be fine if her way was producing championships. Instead, it's producing late-game melt.
Keep those suitcases on standby. The next few months may decide whether Caitlin Nation stays parked in Indiana or hits the road. Back in Vegas, long after broadcast lights dimmed, an off-duty camera caught Clark alone at center court, rolling a ball under her palm like a chess piece. She glanced up at the empty rafters, maybe imagining new banners, maybe picturing them in another arena. Then she flicked the ball skyward, spun on her heel, and walked away before it came down. The future of women's basketball hung for a heartbeat in that silent arc. And everyone from small market GMs to network CEOs could only watch it fall, hoping it landed in their hands. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful or entertaining, hit subscribe and ring the bell. You'll get the next upload the moment it drops, and it really supports the channel.